Day 2 from Las Vegas rolls along as Big Ten Football Media Days continue. Luke Fickell and the Wisconsin Badgers arriving here in the entertainment capital of the world, ready to turn the page following a 5-win season. Luke Fickell brought in Jeff Grimes to revamp the offense. Billy Edwards from Maryland will be taking the reins at quarterback, part of a terrific portal class, and they'll need every bit of that new firepower because Wisconsin's schedule is a gauntlet, as Coach Fickell said at the podium earlier. We're not in the Big Ten West anymore. We are not. No. Luke Fickell joining us on set now. That is well said, and I think you thanked the reporter and said that was Captain Obvious that we have a very difficult schedule, and yet you know what you sign up for.
Yeah. You got to make light of some things at times, right?
Yes.
So there's definitely not a lot of light with some of the other things, but no, it is. And I think the beautiful thing in some of the ideas with bringing in guys, it's not like the NFL, right? It's not like, hey, well, the schedule's going to be released in April. Like, you know what you're signing up for. And that's what I love about Billy, as we'll probably talk about, but even a lot of those other guys that have come in here and the guys that have stayed, that they knew what it is that they were signing up for and they were willing to take the challenge.
Well, let's start with Billy Edwards because, he's talked about that this is the best locker room that he's walked into, and he's been at a couple stops before he came to Madison. What has stood out to you from him?
I think first and foremost is a guy that has walked in knowing that look, the whole idea was we were going to hand you the keys to this new offense, but everything that we do is earned. And so there's a uniqueness to that you have to be able to handle. And he's walked in, humbled himself in a lot of ways, earned and gained the respect of not just the locker room, but everybody within the coaching staff. And in order to do that, it takes somebody that's well in tune to all the things around him. And so it started there. His voice has continued to grow from the time he came in January to where he is now. And I think he's done it in an unbelievable way.
You talked about being a team that wants to go into the high schools, right, and be able to recruit. Where's the balance when you have to go out and get veteran guys from the portal?
This year it was unique, and after 2 years, we kind of recognized some things that we lacked and some things that we needed to do different. Getting some more size, as you will look us up front defensively, and particularly size-wise defensive line, that was just an area that you couldn't get through high school, right? I mean, just that development, that maturity in those positions in particular. So as we move forward, now that going into year 3 and then into year 4, you feel like you've got a base of young guys. We've been playing with 70% of our guys within the first or 2 years, 1 to 2 years of experience. Now we're finally a team where we've got 34 guys or 33 guys in the final year of their college athletic ability. I don't know what year that makes them, but the idea that they've exhausted or going to exhaust their eligibility in college, that makes us a more mature team, and I think that's what we really needed.
I'm curious for you as a head coach. You're a guy who played in the trenches, former wrestler. There's an element of you got to be mentally resilient. You guys take a lot of flack. I mean, no joke about it. The schedule, as Ashley referenced and you referenced, is a challenge. What's it been like for you to be in it and dig in and unearth these parts of your program that you want to turn?
It's a challenge. It really is. And everybody always asks, how do you relax? And it's really difficult to relax. And, there's nothing that anybody outside can say, right? People have asked, well, there's some pressure on you, or there's some different things. There's no more pressure than what you put upon yourself and the expectations you have, and you know what you signed up for, right? I mean, the responsibility, like I said up there earlier, the responsibility that I know I have of leading this program and this team and what the expectations of and whether it goes back to Coach Alvarez and what has been built over the years, I understand that. That's motivating to me on a daily basis. I don't like where we've been, but I do like where we're headed.
A lot of talk about what the philosophy is and what the Badger offense has looked like in the past. And you mentioned from the front, you can be Captain Obvious and say we're doing some different things. But what are some of the things the tangible that you can see that really are changing for your team up front?
Well, I think when we changed offenses, it was more about leadership. But when we changed, it was like, hey, what do you want to look like? And I don't know what NFL style really means, but that was my depiction of. And my explanation of that is meaning you can rely upon other people. We all know the quarterback position and what the quarterback does on a weekly basis is going to dictate a lot of the successes that you have, whether it's leadership or actually the game on Saturday. But to be like some of those NFL teams where you hear, well, the quarterback was 12 for 28 today. He didn't play all that well, but they won 24-17. Well, how is that? Because there's this complementary football that you can't win without. And I think for us, diving into what that means is deeper than the cliche of what a coach says of how offense, defense, and special teams all work together.
You referenced complementary football a few times, and I couldn't help but think about Billy Edwards and his little sticky notes that he writes on, how he prepares, how he trains his mind. How has that part impacted other players on your team in the complementary football that you described on the podium?
It's amazing how the example for what guys do really means that much more. And we all speak it and we all talk it, but that's where I think Billy has really helped. And he's been a guy that, like I said, hasn't walked in the door demanding and talking. He's been an example of all those things. And maybe they're little quirky things about the way he writes things down, but it makes everybody understand how important this is to him, how much he's embracing the things that are all Wisconsin, and what it's going to take.
How close do you feel like you are from a defensive line standpoint? I know you mentioned talking about going into the portal to being just these are the guys that we need, these type of bodies, this type of athleticism.
I'll be honest with you, I think that's what makes me sleep a little bit better. I mean, you go into a season with a new quarterback, there's always a lot of unknowns. For us going into a season with a young running back group that I think is going to be really important to us makes a lot of unknowns. But going into the season knowing that I feel like we're 6 deep, 4 deep interiorly. We've gone from an average of maybe 285 pounds inside to an average of about 320. We've probably added 3 inches on average on the edges and, to maybe 285, 295 pounds across the board. Like when it really came down to it at the end of the year, when you can't stop somebody, when you can't be physical up front, you can preach all you want. But the true meaning of doing it, there's some intangibles and there's some size factors that you got to have.
When you look on the other side of the line, and Jake Renfro, one of the guys that you brought here today, what he means and what he's been through, I mean, injuries and all sorts of different things, but the glue guy in the middle up front, what can you tell us about Jake?
Jake has been the core, and I think that even the way he finished last year, he knows and what some of the changes that he's made and his ability to put himself in a better position. And like we said, we have a leadership group, and there's 14 guys I really feel like we could have brought here. There's not 1 or 2 or 3, and these just aren't the 3 guys that stand in front of everybody every day. There's a collective group, and I think that's what's important about what we're doing. There's an idea of guys are put in position to be leaders. Let's be honest, right? If you're a good player, you're put in a position. It doesn't mean you accept what leadership is. It doesn't mean you embrace what leadership really means. And I think that's where I think Jake, I think Billy, I think, Rico and these guys, and some of the reason that they're here is because they have embraced what that means and that ability to take a bigger ownership in all things that they do.
You can feel the ownership within the team hearing you talk 131 days until the season will end. I'm curious how you balance the intensity of the job and the task at hand. And these guys want to have fun. You went to the Bob Marley experience last night, I think. You're trying to have a good time.
I was trying to look like I was with them and enjoying it. There's a lot of things that run through my head. And that's a part of me growing, right? I mean, look, this world, and I've had a lot of conversations with a good friend of mine who's an NFL head coach, and just trying to understand how do you manage. I've been in places where it's not saying it's accepting not winning every game, but how do you handle not winning every single game? And it's the ability, he would remind me of, it's not the ability, it's not that you're accepting anything, but you're accepting moving on. And a part of that is me understanding, okay, what is this team, what's this culture, what's this atmosphere look like, and how can I be better in it as well? And some of that is me being able to smile a little bit more, me be able to relax in some ways and have more fun in all that we do.
Is that the growth you see in yourself when you start to kind of let loose and kind of enjoy the moment a little bit more?
Yeah, my wife's been reminding me and telling me about that for quite some time.
You haven't been listening?
No, I know. I'm a better coach than I am being coached. But I think when you do go through really tougher times, when you do have those adversities, you really, if you're going to come out of those things and you're going to come out better on the other side, you need to self-reflect. And you got to recognize the things that you don't do well and the things that you got to do better, and that's one of those things for me.
More Bob Marley concerts, I think.
I don't know about Bob Marley.
No worries.
I do think, we, in terms of having fun and the connections that are made away from football, because there's nothing like going out and competing with those guys, but there's also moments off the field, and one of those moments happened on a lot of ice and a lake. There was some ice fishing that went on with Billy Edwards and the O-line. Are you aware of this?
Yeah, it's a new experience to a lot of guys. Obviously, anybody that's not from probably Wisconsin, ice fishing is a new experience. But that's what I mean when you look at, how do you come into a place, regardless of what this new world is, and there's transactions, like how do you embrace all things? What's the best way a quarterback can come in? There's no better way than making a connection, especially with the offensive line and doing what only offensive linemen could love to do.
The mother in me is watching this being like, where are your gloves?
Yeah.
Where are your mittens?
Did you check that ice? Like how?
Yes.
Why are you nervous? Why, is that a power tool?
Do you have a life preserver with you just in case?
Yeah, that's where mine goes too. But we're here to have fun and enjoy and relax as well as compete. I do want to. Just one last thing on the schedule. When you look at road trips to Alabama, Michigan, Oregon, Ohio State, Illinois, the list goes on. How do you talk to your guys? Because I know the cliche is, and it's not a cliche, it's real, one game at a time. But how do you not let them look ahead?
No, I think that's the whole idea about that 131 days, since we started in December or January. It's, hey, what are we really building for? We didn't say we're building for one game. We're not just, yes, we talk about the rivalry games, which are incredibly important to us. Yes, we talk about the opening game and then going to, but like, how do you really say, okay, what we're building for is 131 days? And how do you manage 131 days, whether that's training camp, whether that's the first third of the season, the second third, whether that's going on the road. And so I think the bigger picture of understanding the roller coaster that we know we're getting able to take off on, how do we handle whether we're on that upswing or on that downswing, it's going to have a lot to do with how we stay together.
Well, looking forward to seeing how it all plays out August 28th against Miami of Ohio right here on Big Ten Network. Luke Fickell, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.